All right, hey guys, I am going to teach you about multiplying decimals today. It's not so very different from multiplying normally, so I think that you should be able to pick this up pretty quickly. All right, so here are the steps for multiplying decimals. The first thing you need to remember is that you completely ignore the decimals until the very end. If you ignore the decimals, you can go ahead and multiply like you normally would. It's completely normal. The only thing you need to remember is that after you're finished and you get your final product, you need to count the total places from the right to the decimal in both of your numbers. So if you look at this example over here, we've got the top number has 2 decimal places, and the bottom number has 1 decimal place. Together, that equals 3 decimal places. Once you've counted your decimals, you add your decimal to your final product, just like they've shown you on here, by counting over whatever that total number of decimals is. So this one has 1, 2, 3 spaces, and they've inserted their decimal there. Remember when you're counting spaces to count each digit and make sure you're actually counting one digit at a time. So let's do a couple of examples. Remember step 1, completely ignore the decimals. So I'm going to multiply this just like I normally would. 4 times 8 is 32. Carry my 3, little plus sign. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Still ignoring my decimal. I know now I've got to plump my pillow, do a little housekeeping, and I'm going to keep going. 2 times 8 is 16. Carry my 1. 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7. I've got my bow tie and finished multiplying. I'm going to get my final product here. 8, 9. So I'm finished with the normal part of multiplication. Now with the decimal, all I need to remember is count the total number of decimal places in the problem. So I've got 1 here and 1 here, which means I need 2 decimal places here. So my answer is going to be 9 and 12/100ths. Do you see how I ignore the decimal to the very end? Then all I have to do is count how many places I have in my problem and put that total number of places in my answer or my final product. All right, let's try another one. This is a good problem. One thing you need to remember is that with decimals, sometimes the formatting on numbers gets a little messed up, so the digits might not always be quite in line. They're still in the same places. They just might not look as neat and tidy as they normally do. Don't let that mess you up. It has absolutely nothing to do with anything. So remember, step 1 is ignore the decimals to the end. I'm just going to go ahead and multiply normally. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. Carry my 1. 8 times 4 is 32. Plus 1 is 33. All right, I'm done with step 1. I'm going to put my placeholder 0, do a little housekeeping, and start again. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 4 is 4. And 1 times 8 is 8. I've got my wonky looking bow tie because it's a 3-digit times a 2-digit up here. I can add my partial products. And now 8, 9, 10, 11, I am finished. I can go back and look at those decimals. So if I look at the top number, I've got 2 spaces. And if you need to write these numbers out to the side, please feel free. And I've got 1 space at the bottom, which means I need 3 spaces total in the answer. 1, 2, 3. Put my decimal, 11 and 774 thousandths. Do you see how this is mostly like our normal multiplying? The only difference is having to count those decimal places in the problem and add that total number of decimal places to your final product. All right, let's try one more problem before we finish here. If we take a look at this problem, 56 times 3 and 2/10, it's okay that there's only a decimal in one of the numbers. So I'm going to still ignore the decimals to the very end and just do my problem. 6 times 2 is 12, carry my 1. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. I'm finished with the first step of my bow tie. I'm going to draw myself my pillow, do a little housekeeping. All right, 3 times 6 is 18, carry my 1. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16. I add my partial products. And now I'm finished, so the only thing I have left to do is count my decimal place value. I only have 1 decimal place value here, which means I only need to put 1 in my answer. So I get 179 and 2/10. Like I said, this is going to be pretty much a review of multiplication, with the only difference being to count those place values for the decimal. Hope this was helpful.